Hello, welcome back to my channel. I want to show you this article and then I'm going to play a few videos. Ex-Buffalo University student who found her sorority sister in blood-soaked room defends Idaho roommate as people question why she waited 6 hours to call cops after coming face-to-face with the killer. I live with the guilt. So this is the article for the person that they interviewed. Her name is Alana. Alana Zabel, 50, so she's my age, found her sorority sister and roommate close to death in 1992. A psychologist told Zabel that her delayed response was a coping mechanism. Zabel defended University of Idaho quadruple murder survivor Dylan Mortensen. Mortensen waited 6 hours before calling cops after allegedly seeing the killer. She is under pressure to reveal why she waited to call cops earlier on November 13th, 2022. So I'm going to read you what this article says. A woman who found her college roommate near to death in a blood-soaked room in 1992 has defended the survivors of the Idaho quadruple murder, saying she too had a delayed response. Alana Zabel, 50, revealed the eerie similarities of the attack she survived more than 30 years ago, and exclusively told Daily Mail that living with survivor's guilt has haunted her throughout her life. She has slammed critics of Dylan Mortensen, who lived through the murder of her 4 friends on November 13th, along with Bethany Funk, saying people don't know how they'd react in a similar situation. There's a lot of blank space on this article. I'm not sure why. Idaho victims Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and her boyfriend Ethan Chapin were stabbed to death while in bed at a house in Moscow, Idaho. Mortensen and Funk were the only survivors. This is Alana Zabel. Okay, let's see here. I'm not going to play the videos. I'm just here for the article. So, Zabel lived in a house with 5 sorority sisters off campus from the University of Buffalo and said she can relate to the anguish Mortensen and Funk are feeling. She said that she too had a delayed response and felt guilty that she went to sleep despite hearing muffled, heavy breathing in her roommate's room and only called cops the next day. Someone was stalking us and broke in one night while we were out partying and drinking late, she said. They brutally beat and raped my housemate. I found her 6 hours later and she nearly died. The 50-year-old said she had heard heavy breathing from her roommate's room, but had assumed that she was with her boyfriend. The next morning around 9 a.m., Zabel entered the victim's room to ask her to move her car and said that she had been overpowered by the stench of vomit. I didn't see any blood at first, even though the room was covered in it, she said. This is her and her friends in early 90s, late 80s, not really sure. Let's see, it doesn't give a date. But yeah, all that looks real familiar to me. Happy times in the late 80s or early 90s. And I think this is her in the brown curly hair. Emily lived in the second level of the Buffalo home with Zabel Center. Yep, that's her. A girl named Carrie and the victim who remained nameless, while Kristen Wright lived in the basement with another roommate named Donna. This sounds really, really familiar, doesn't it? It's a diagram There's a roommate. This is the victim. Another roommate. Living room. And then here's Alana's room where she heard the noise. She was here. That's weird. They've got a living room, kitchen. I guess dining area was probably here between the kitchen and living room. And then stairs going down to the basement level. Wow. Zabel made a hand-drawn image of the floor the girls lived on, noting that her room was on the other side of the living room from where the gruesome attack took place. Ooh, this part's hard to read. I only saw liquid, her hair caked on her face, tongue sticking through her teeth. Man. I called 911 to report my housemate unconscious and assumed she had choked on her vomit from drinking too much. I then called her parents. It was only when the paramedics arrived and commented on the amount of blood in the room that Zabel noticed the room covered with it. Now listen, the psychologist said it was a protective mechanism. The wall had what looked like red broom marks, she said. The victim's hair was soaked in blood, so was the bed and the floor. They think he used a hammer. Man. Zabel noted the eerie similarities to the University of Idaho case. Man. I'll pause here for just a minute. If you can see here, you can, it's awful, isn't it? I don't understand why they took a short bed truck and left it out where you can see right through the white covering on the mattresses. My goodness. Okay. This week, a probable cause affidavit revealed that Mortensen had heard several scuffles throughout the night her roommates were murdered and opened her door. Mortensen told police that she saw a suspect dressed in all black with a mask covering his face and heard one of her roommates say, "There's someone here." She also heard the suspect say, although it doesn't say in the PCA if it was the suspect, she heard a male voice. I'm going to correct that. "It's okay, I'm here to help you," as the person wandered through the house, committing the atrocity. Police confirmed that a 911 call was made by one of the surviving roommates' phone at 11:58 a.m. who requested help for an unconscious person, though it has not been confirmed who spoke to police. Morton is now under pressure to reveal why she failed to call the authorities earlier, with some arguing that she may have been frozen by fear. Well, that is what the PCA says. Zabel said she can relate, having also a delayed response, as she pieced together the horrific 1992 account. Such a pretty picture. Dylan Mortensen picture did not call the authorities until 6 hours after she spotted a masked person in her home and heard them say, "It's okay, I'm here to help you." We don't know who said that. So all the girls, this was move-in day, September 1st. This was originally captioned, I believe it said new roomies. Okay. For those coming down on the roommate who saw him inside the house and didn't call the police, I understand completely. And I too am in anguish that she hadn't, she said. But I can also say you don't know how you would react or respond in a similar situation until you're there. Yeah. Zabel said having been through a similar situation, living with the guilt of not calling 911 sooner haunts her. That's terrible. I've lived with the guilt of not calling 911 sooner my entire life. I never saw the attacker or saw signs of the break-in until I found my housemate the next morning. I can imagine the guilt the surviving roommate in Idaho must be feeling. I, too, called 911 reporting an unconscious person because I didn't understand the extent of what was happening. She went on to say, when you're living in an environment like college, where you're having strangers in your house become normal, it's hard to fathom a tragedy like this. You don't want to believe it to be true. Being so young, I can imagine she went into shock. It's a true defense mechanism for survival. There's Mr. Kottberger going into court. There he is. There is the suspect. And just in case you've been under a rock, police this week unsealed an arrest affidavit revealing why they've pointed the finger at Brian Koberger more than a month after 4 students were stabbed to death. All right, so now back to Alana. I am praying for her healing and all the families involved in this senseless tragedy. I request people not to judge her. She's going to be judging herself for the rest of her life. The savage killings shocked Moscow, a small college town in Idaho with a population of just 26,000 that had not seen a murder since 2015. The explosive document showed the painstaking work by Moscow police and the FBI tracked down the 28-year-old criminal justice graduate student. He was denied bail during a brief court appearance in Moscow on Thursday, shortly after the affidavit outlining some of the case against him was shared online. So I'm going to just highlight that. Let's see. The affidavit outlines some of the case against him. People need to be aware that the probable cause affidavit is just that. Do we have enough evidence to arrest and charge him? They always want to have enough to convict. And they usually do wait until they're like, okay, yes, yep, we got the conviction. But the PCA does not ever detail or reveal all of the evidence. It's just what's required for probable cause. The papers included details on how Koberger's DNA was found on a knife sheath close to the bodies of Mogan and Gonsalves. Here's where her parents spoke. Justice is when you leave this planet and the whole world rejoices that you are not there. That was a really hard interview to watch. I am going to put this link in the description so you can scroll down and see all these videos and watch the whole things if you'd like to. I'm the same age as these parents. My heart goes out to them. I couldn't imagine. I have one of mine is 28. Just, man, it's awful. Okay, that is it. That's that article. All right, so where's that pretty picture of these up here in that? I think I skipped it. All right, guys. I am very grateful for this lady for stepping up and saying something like that. I know when I read the PCA the first time, or 2 or 3, I was shocked. But then I got to thinking, from having worked at a law firm for years, that no, they don't show their whole hand. They only show enough. So we got to remember there's a lot more we don't know about yet. and it'll all come out. So let's stop pointing fingers at people who, thank God they survived. You know, Dylan and Bethany are still alive, and this over here, this is Bethany. Beautiful girls, and thank God that they were spared. I don't care how, I don't care why. Thank God they were spared. And there weren't 6 murder victims, but these 2 are still victims. All right, so I'm going to play a few videos that I have found on TikTok. I'm only going to focus on TikTok this time because some really good humans have put out some TikToks, and I want to show you to end this. Thank you very much for watching.
The internet has had an absolute field day since the affidavit for Brian Kohlberger, the murder suspect in the Idaho 4 case, has been released. Specifically, the few paragraphs about the surviving roommate, Dylan Mortensen. Dylan woke up the night of the murders and saw a man coming towards her, and she said that he was wearing a mask, he had bushy eyebrows, and that he was not really muscular, and he exited out the glass sliding door. Dylan stated that she was in a shock phase and that she went into her room and locked the door. And I think a big reason why everybody is running wild with this is because that's all it says. It does not say what happens after that. And everyone's curious why there's like an 8-hour gap in between then and when the 911 call was made. This is just my opinion, but I believe that if she had anything to do with this or whatever, that she would not have told the investigators that she saw a man. Like, what good would that do her if she was part of it, especially giving out details that actually match Brian Kohlberger? I believe that this information was not released to the public for a couple reasons. For the safety of Dylan and for the safety of the investigation. We don't know if Brian Kohlberger even saw Dylan. I feel like police would want to hold that information back for her safety, because if Brian Kohlberger knew that she told a description of him and everything that night, then that could be motive for him to go after her. And I also feel like they did not release that because it could put harm to the investigation if he knew that they had descriptive details about him, because then he would know that the police were on to him, just like they have a lot more information that they did not release.
Stewie.
Yeah?
It's not your fault.
What?
It's not your fault.
I know.
It's not your fault.
I know.
Okay, just a short little note before I play this one. This is the tattoos that the girls, the survivors, Dylan and Bethany, got shortly after the murders. M.K. Xana, Ethan. Kind of crazy that the letters are in the exact same order as the murders happened, but I know people are already speculating about that now too. Like, she somehow knew the order in which, I mean, come on, people. Anyway, but yes, they got these beautiful tattoos right after, and they're friends. I'm gonna play this one.
Don't want it, won't hurt. Don't want it.
So yes, please don't speculate on that any further either.
She said that she saw him. Now, if she was in a state of shock can take hours, days, weeks sometimes to wear off.
People need to start seeing Dylan, one of the surviving roommates, for who she is. Not a suspect, but as the woman who is probably going to be the key to this case and what puts him away. I defy any of you people who are sitting in the comments saying she should have called 911 to do what she did. Because as usual, it's a woman doing what's necessary to get shit done. And as usual, her contribution to something is being dismissed, disregarded, judged, and overanalyzed. You guys don't seem to get it. She knew the risk opening that bedroom door, and she did it anyway. By that point, she couldn't have helped her friends. But she's helping them now by doing the one thing that's going to put him away and get them justice.
Does Dylan know more than what she's saying? I got news for you guys. It really doesn't matter. She's a victim in this. Just like the 4 students that were taken, she's a victim as well. She was there. She experienced everything that night. Yes, we don't know why she didn't call the police, but maybe something else happened that we haven't heard about. Everything has been pretty tight-lipped about this process, and it's made our minds go so many different ways. People blame Jack D for the longest time, but now we see who is the suspect. I mean, this whole case has got us all going crazy right now. She's a college student, guys. There's no telling what she was doing that night. She could have been very intoxicated. She could have, not even realized what she was seeing. Maybe she thought that it was someone at a party, there, somebody coming back to grab something, and it kind of scared her. Either way, we're going to get more info. This affidavit was huge. This is a big chunk of information that's just a tiny piece of the puzzle, guys. I myself cannot wait till there's more information, but as of right now, this is what we got. And until the facts come out, she's a victim. Treat her as a victim. Be there for her, because she's probably going through survivor's guilt right now. Because I guarantee you, if you find out that she has nothing to do with it or whatever, this is going to tear her whole world apart. She's a college student. She's like 20 years old. Hold her in your arms right now. Stop pointing a finger and blaming.
That if you talk enough sense, then you'll lose your mind. And I'll use you as a focal point, so I don't lose sight of what I want. And I move further than I thought I could, but I missed you more than I thought I would. And I'll use you as a warning.
I just got done crying for an hour. Today is a really emotional day with the affidavit coming out. Couldn't find it online if you want to read it. Also, yes, my pugs are snoring again. I'm going to do my best to keep my mouth shut on my opinions on that affidavit. I do want to remind people that it is literally only a little bit of the evidence that they have on him that they gave us today in that affidavit. We only have the bare bones in that affidavit, so consider that when you're reading it. Anyways, I know what I think, but this video will likely get minimal traction. That's fine. I do need to speak out for the roommate Dylan at this point. Some of you guys need to knock it the hell off. Speculating what she was doing in, that gap of time before she called the police. You have absolutely no idea. If she contacted somebody, again, it's only a bit of the information that they provided us in that document. People are quite literally ripping her apart in the comments. This is a real human being. This is somebody who has been cleared by the police from day one. This is somebody who is hurting just like the families and the other friends. This is somebody who is absolutely traumatized from this situation in that house at the time it happened. And unless you have experienced the same thing she experienced, you need to shut the actual hell up. I get it at face value. It's confusing. I get that. But the affidavit itself says she was frozen in shock.
okay? She could have easily went back into her room, locked the door. Maybe she passed out in her room for a period of time. Have you ever been frozen in fear or shock? You don't move. She might have been sitting on her bed in a headlock for 5 hours. She might have texted all of her friends. She might have called her mom. She might have been too scared to call the police in case he was still in the house and heard her through the door. She might have just needed a mother effing minute to just collect herself. Maybe that took 5 hours. Maybe she was so afraid she hid in her closet until literally 11 a.m. when the sun came out and she knew that people were awake across the street. And then she felt confident to, get out of the room and go look around. And then maybe she saw what happened across the hall and ran outside the front door and fainted in the street. And maybe she was the person who fainted and the 911 call was placed. I said it before, stop speaking in absolutes unless you were there, unless you have all the details, which, newsflash, you don't. And stop crucifying this poor person who is grieving a lot and traumatized for life.
Not someone on TikTok judging someone for literally facing death and not knowing what to do. Please tell me if you've ever been in this situation or a situation similar where you literally freeze in time and don't know what you're doing or what the right thing to do is, because you literally are trying to process what fucking reality you're in. Or maybe if you're dreaming and this isn't even reality, and then you woke up the next morning and realized that it was reality, and how awful you would feel. So just put yourself in their situation for a sec and then comment. Let me know.
Jealous of the rain that falls upon your skin. It's closer than my hands have been. I'm jealous of the rain. I'm jealous of the wind that ripples through your clothes. It's closer than your shadow. Oh, I'm jealous of the wind.